Like,
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coach's Corner. Welcome to Coach's Corner. This is, I believe, the 11th Sunday, of sharing tremendous value on these live webinars. And it's been quite a journey, right? Right, guys?
absolutely. Loving it.
Yeah. Not a Sunday goes by that I don't enjoy, sharing this knowledge and experience and stories and props and, laughter, right? And, this is great. Today is essentially, what we're going to do through this call here, right? My name is Jamel Matias. I'm a certified Bob Proctor coach. My brand is Believe in the Unseen, and it's all about believing in yourself and believing in your goals. And also I help guide you to that achievement. So I'll pass it to my amazing colleague, Alicia.
Hi, what me? Hi, I am Alicia Espinosa. I am in Sweden, living in Sweden, and I'm also certified Bob Proctor facilitator, and I also certified coach and work a lot with values and mindset. And I help people to create a life that feels good on the inside, not only just good. It's good from the outside. Like be aligned with the values that we have. Lou.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And if you're catching the replay, we're so glad that you're here. So my name is Lou Perica. I am also a success mindset mentor, certified as well. And what I do is I help growth-minded women, people that really want more out of life, who are probably tired of the hustle and grind. I help them take a different approach to success. One, just like Alicia and all of us, that start from the inside out. And by shifting their mindset and aligning with their true potential, you're actually creating lasting fulfillment, authentic success in a life where you can truly be, do, and have it all. Paul.
Wow. My name is Paul Wooters. I'm in Burlington, Ontario, just outside Toronto, Canada. And I'm also a Proctor Gallagher consultant, and I help individuals achieve quantum leaps in their performance and to make life-changing results that really stick. And I'll hand it back over to our amazing leader, Jamel.
Oh, thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. Well, where do we start with this particular topic, right? This is so important. We embed this in our conscious and subconscious every day. And I know every Coach's Corner, we've done this even unconsciously because we just love to help people in different ways. And, this material really speaks to you on so many different volumes. And this is such a great question to start it off because I was thinking as I was going over this question. So think about someone in your life. This could be anybody. And before I forget, always remember, feel free to drop a comment, on this post. We're on tons of different social media platforms right now, or a question, because we're here to help you. We're here to, speak with you, get to know you, but also pull out the abundance that you already have within you. So think about someone in your life. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just wanted, just to let the people know in case they're just starting to tune in, what the topic is. Today's topic is leaving everyone you meet with the impression of increase. Just wanted to.
No, that's great. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. And I kind of hinted around it. So yeah, excellent. And if you missed all other 9 Coach's Corners, they're on our social media platforms. Go back and watch a few of those. There's so much value there, right? So go back and review. And repetition is the key, right? So key to learning and key to growth. So think about somebody in your life who always leaves you feeling uplifted and inspired. What is it about their words or their actions or presence that creates that impact? And how can you apply that same principle to your daily interactions? Such an in-depth question. So does anybody kind of remember someone, that left you uplifted or inspired?
I can. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Okay, thank you, Alicia. Someone comes to mind straight away, Jamel, and it's a very good friend of mine from when I was a teenager. And he's just someone who actively listens. I mean, they really listen to you. And I think that's so important. I think that's so respectful. You look that person in the eye and you let them speak without waiting to jump in for a reply. You're really, you have empathy for them. You're listening. You don't have your phone in your hand and you're always referring to your phone or anything like that. He just really takes a genuine interest. He's always done that. And it was really interesting because a while ago I was telling a story about something that happened years ago, and I brought up his name, and my daughter said, "Oh, that guy Jim, he's my favorite of your friends." And I said, "Oh, like, why is that?" And he said, "Because even when I was a little kid, he never spoke down to me, and he just really listened to what I had to say, rather than just, hey, how you doing, how's school type of thing." And my friend Jim, he always makes me feel good about myself. He's like my biggest fan. He's always interested in what I've been doing, or whether he has a similar interest or not, doesn't matter. He takes an interest in listening. And I just think that is so important. It's so valuable. And you really show that you're listening to what that person has to say. Whether you agree or not, you really give them the time to speak, and you really show that you care about what they're saying. I just think that is so important. So Alicia, sorry, I jumped in there ahead of you.
No, it's okay. No, I don't know. I have so many that it's like I don't know who to choose. But one person that I felt so, I don't meet him all the time, but I know that he did something that for me was very, very special, and it was Jack Canfield. I am also certified Jack Canfield, and when I was training with him, his eyes is like he's so present when he is with you, and when he give you a hug, it's like it's so full of energy, and you feel how special you are. So that person, that Jack, for me was very, very, I cannot find that energy anywhere else. That when I was in his training, and all the time that I met him, is I felt so special all the time. Yeah.
Well,
Oh, you want to go last, Lou?
oh, go ahead, Jamel.
Hey, it doesn't matter. When I think about this question, there was a neighbor where I used to live, and it was a little girl, but she had so much presence. I think she was around 10 or 13, really young. And every time she spoke to anyone in the neighborhood, she used to walk this dog, and she just had a spirit about her. She had an uplifting spirit, and she was like, "Good morning," or "Hi, how are you today?" And she was just glowing. And every time I got a presence from her and a reminder to pass on that same energy to someone else. It was just something about her that was inspiring, because at the time I was going to college, I was working super hard, and it was a reminder to kind of have fun, and it's not that serious. And now that I look back, I'm like, wow, that was a very special message through that person. And it was weird. It wasn't like deep conversations. It was more like, hello, goodbye. I was like, how's your dog doing? Little small conversations. And the way she, like Paul was mentioning, all of us, she would listen.
Mhm.
And there was a connection there to everyone. I watched how she talked to different people. She's very present. And people like that, even if you're unconsciously doing it, it is so valuable, right? You have an impact more than you know.
Mhm.
And another person that I was thinking about was Bob. Bob reminds me of, like, I mentioned so many times in sports, but like a lot of, I used to run track as well. So track coaches, Bob is like a D coach, right? So he's pouring all this knowledge and information to you, but he's also empowering you. So it's weird because you can feel his presence, even not in the physical, but you can feel it listening to him. You can feel it watching. And, he's always been kind of like that person that is listening without, him being here, but he's listening. It's very interesting. But that's just two that come to mind. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking I'm going way, 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 way back in the way back machine, time
Perception.
machine. So when I was a little girl, my mother used to kind of drag me around, like whenever she had to go visit people or whatever. And so I was always with my mother. And my mother was Japanese. So when we went to visit her friends, they always spoke Japanese. So I was never really part of anything. I would just kind of just sit there. But there was this one woman, a Greek woman, who, spoke English, and she was a dear friend of my mother. And when we would go and visit her, she to me was larger than life. She had a spark of energy, and every time she saw me, she gave me this big hug. She made me feel noticed, and she made me feel so good. And she would always tell me great things I was going to do, and oh, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. And whenever we would sit around the kitchen table, they'd be talking, and she always took the time to occasionally look at me, address a question to me, or bring me into the conversation. She made me feel heard and seen and understood. And I always appreciated that so much. So when we would go visit her, I would get very excited. And I remember as the years went by, she was, up there in age. And I remember writing her a letter. And I wrote her a letter thanking her how she made me feel.
Mhm.
Now, I met a lot of my mother's friends. My mother dragged me here, there, and everywhere. But the adults never, at least from what I can recall, never really acknowledged me, right? They don't acknowledge the kids. They're just doing their own thing. So I'm super grateful that I took the time to let her know what an impression she made on me, and that she made me feel really good. So that's what today's call is about, right? They say you'll forget, what people say or what they did, but you'll never forget how they made you feel. And so this is something that I try to bring into with everyone. We all do, with everyone we meet all the time. So that was my little story of the person who left me with the impression of increase every time she saw me.
Mhm. So beautiful.
I
Mhm.
love that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Thank you, Lou. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, everybody, for sharing.
Yeah.
So, what comes to mind for anybody here was the last time you left someone with the impression of increase?
You know, I have every morning I say to myself, I am so happy and grateful now that I provide so much value to every single person who I come in contact with every day. And then I ask the higher power, how can I embody more love and enthusiasm so I can share with others? And but the first person that you need to be with impression and increase is yourself, because I believe that if we talk about my prompts and I have this all the time here, is that if you go with a hammer about yourself all the time, is it will be more difficult to be genuine or authentic, even other people with impression and increase. So it's like, how do you treat yourself first
Mm.
in order to treat other the same way?
Mhm.
Cannot give something that you don't have. Is why you need to, February is the love month. The 14th of February will be I normally ask people, have you love bomb yourself first in order to give to others? Because
Mm.
otherwise you are giving from the under, what is the reserve, instead of the when it's full.
Mm.
So I believe that the first thing that you need to do is to leave yourself with impression increase. And I have my morning routine so that I leave me with impression and increase, so I can be the best person I can, so I can leave other people with impression and increase.
Mm.
Yeah, that's really good. I have the pleasure and privilege of coaching young athletes. And
Mhm.
so I have an opportunity all the time to help them see possibilities that they hadn't considered before.
Mhm.
That, express confidence and belief in their potential, because they can really take a hit on their self-image and how well they're doing and how they're progressing. And so always looking for something positive in them. So, they have a starting point which is different than anyone else's from where they're starting. So they have to compare themselves to where they were, not compare themselves to the next person. So I have the opportunity to do that, regularly, which I love to do, because I not only want them to be better athletes, I want them to be better citizens. I want them to grow up and take some of the things that I teach them, and for them to be able to incorporate that into other aspects or facets of their life. And even later on, maybe years from now, maybe they'll look back and go, like Lou said, yeah, I'm going to go back years and years. Maybe one time one of those kids will be our age, and they'll look back and say, yeah, there was this coach that used to do this for me. So that's one thing I get to do on a regular basis, which I love to do. But I had a mentor who said something really interesting, and that is to be, rather than, if you go into a grocery store lineup or whatever, you'll see someone and you say, hey, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? That's just typically, I think it's just very lazy talk. Or someone does something for you and you say thank you. Well, that's good. It's implied. You're implying what you're thanking them for, something that they did. But go that one little step further and say thank you for your great service. Thank you for always giving me your attention. Thank you for your quick reply. Thank you for looking after that for me today. I really appreciate it. Just, thank them for something. Don't just say thank you. Thank them for something, and engage in people. I try to, this mentor taught me to, when you engage with people, like in a grocery store, to the cashier or to the person, you regularly buy your sub sandwich from, or something like that. Like what's the most, how do you most like spending your days off? Or what's the most interesting order you've ever had, or something like that. Just try to engage in them a little bit more rather than the same old stuff. Hey, how are you? Not really even thinking. And, when, you really catch people when you do that, you really catch them, and they just have a greater interaction with you. And in the future, they will have a greater interaction with you as well. So it's just little things that you can do every day. To really make them feel validated.
Yeah. When I go to dinner, I always ask the server, "What's your name?"
Mhm.
And I think they're taking a lot of times. I notice like this little quick, "Oh, my name is so and so." And I said, "Well, thank you. Thank you for taking care of us today." And that simple question and acknowledgement, I know I'm going to get better service. I don't do it to get better service. I do it because I want to acknowledge them as a person. If they weren't there, I wouldn't be able to go to that restaurant or whatever service it is. So I always, and during the time there, I will say their name. Oh, last night. Oh, thank you, Mark. That was awesome, Mark. Thank you for that recommendation, Mark. And it just, and so we got extra service, I believe. And this is what leaving the impression of increase. It's not really to get, it's to give, but you do end up getting in return, right? Because it's not doing certain things, but doing things in a certain way. But I do have a story I'd like to share, if that's okay with you.
Go for it.
Um, and this is not to impress anyone. It's, this is not an Olu by any stretch, but it's just to impress upon. But the more you get to understand you, the more I understood how that woman in my childhood impacted me, how that made me feel. The more I understand how we all work, the more I understand that we're all really the same. Everybody wants to be seen, heard, and understood. I was going to an event, I was going to do a seminar, a workshop, and it was in the evening. So I was dressed up and I thought I'd run to the grocery store to grab some waters. So during that time, 5 o'clock, people are coming and going, getting ready for dinner. And there was what appeared to be a homeless woman sitting right out front. So she had her backpack and things and disheveled looking. So I stopped and I said, "Hey, what's your name?" And she told me her name. I said, "So what's going on?" And I ended up having a conversation with her. And she was telling me her things. And I really didn't care about the things because I call them bullshit. It's just a bunch of baloney and stories, and they're almost like cobwebs to me. So as I was talking to her, I was kind of going like this. She's like, "What are you doing?" I says, I'm removing the cobwebs and I want to talk to you. Tell me about you. And so she started to talk to me and explain what's been happening in her life, etc. And I was there probably a good half hour. And again, people are walking past us, not acknowledging her, but maybe like, why is this woman who's dressed up taking time to speak to this homeless person? See, I was raised through behavior, seeing behavior. People always walk past homeless people. Your parent would grab you close. "Come on, honey, just keep going. Don't talk, just keep going." So, because I now study this material and I understand that everyone is the same underneath, I wanted to talk to that person. She had a story. She was giving this meaning to herself, which really wasn't true, right? So she said, I remember her saying, "Geez, I wish you could talk to my mother," and she goes, "I wish," she was even going to therapy or something. She goes, "I wish you could talk to my therapist." But at the end, what I felt so good because I took the time to acknowledge her, to let her know that she's a person, she's human, she's not some junkie. But that's what she's led to believe. That's the story she's clinging on to, the identity that she's labeled herself with, and probably society has labeled her with that. So towards the end, I had to get go. I had to leave. So I handed her some money. And I says, I'm giving you this because I want to give you this. But how you use that money is totally up to you. You can go buy drugs, you can go buy liquor. I don't know, you can go buy food, you can whatever. I said, but you always have the power to choose and decide. And I want you to remember that. So that story was one of the most impactful for me as well, because it showed me how much I've grown. How much that I understand that everyone wants to be heard, seen, and understood, regardless. I don't care if you're a multi-millionaire, billionaire, it doesn't matter. We all have that in us, right? Just want to be acknowledged. So that for me, and I share that story often because my hope is that maybe next time you pass somebody that's homeless or having a hard time, that you'll remember this story, because everyone is human. Everyone wants to be loved. So I that was one of the most impactful stories for me, because it showed me how much I've grown, how much more I understand myself, and how much more I understand others. And that's what this material does. See, there were times I just kept walking, just kept walking. Yeah, well, they're just going to spend it on booze. They can go find a job. I have to work. Why can't they work? Blah, 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 blah. So it just gives me that, let me just pause and at least say hello. At least acknowledge them and just say hello to them. So that was a story from me, again, that left an impression with me, and I do believe left the impression with that young woman.
Yeah. Wow. That's quite an impression on both of you, right? That's amazing. Yeah, great story. That sparks so many different things. Bob always shared, and in many different teachings, that we are spiritual beings. We have an intellect and we live in a physical body. So, studying this type of material showed me that we're not separate, right? Spirit is energy, basically the unseen. Like, our bodies are just physical representations, individual parts of that spirit, right? So you saying somebody's name, that's the connection of spirit through voice, through the inner speech. So it's interesting because one of the studies, I think it was Magic in Your Mind, the memory part, one of the exercises were to remember everyone's name that you speak to every day, especially on a continuous basis. And, my daughter does a dance class. I think she's over there, but she does a dance class. And I made sure I said the instructors' names, all three of them. And they kind of looked at me like, whoa, he remembered my name. And right there's a connection and energy.
It feels good.
Yeah. Not only that you're improving your memory, you're empowering yourself, but also impressing the person you're speaking to, especially the person that, we had Uber Eats or whatever yesterday. Like, so say the driver's name, right? And that creates a connection, but also empowers them as well. Something recently, we had a private live launch call. I had one with a few guests, and it was so much I was pouring into them, and we had a very powerful connection there in that call, and some tears as well, because sometimes you need to be heard, and be appreciated, but always giving value, always giving value. And Bob talks about it. You know, this is the law of cause and effect, and also vibration, right? And there's so many things connected with leaving the impression of increase. The energy has to come to and through you. So if you're saying, you know, Paul, I love the way you said that. That was amazing. That is, it has to come through me first in order to give. So I'm in a high vibration. The next person is raising in a vibrational state. You're remembering their name. It's all win, 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 right? So it's interesting when you think about how simple this one little thing can shape everything in your life. And of course, your results and the outside world will reflect what's on the inside at this high vibrational state. Yeah, thanks, Lou, for sharing that story, because there was a lot of things shared there, and it sparked some thoughts there of, you know, from studies and different things. Yeah.
And you just mentioned, Jamel, that just reminded me that source returns, the energy returns to the original source. So I remember, and even now, you know, when you're speaking to prospects, or, you know, especially like when I was in real estate, we used to send out cards and things like that. We used to try these different strategies, and we wouldn't get any calls or something like that. We didn't get a sale from doing that. And I can remember feeling frustrated, you know, different strategies. And now I understand it. When you're doing, let's just say, postcards, and you're writing out postcards, and you're like, I just hope it, you know, you're just doing it just to do it, right? But you're not in the spirit of doing it. Like, oh, I'm going to send out postcards. This is going to be so cool. That those postcards are going out with your energy. Now, you may not get a call from that particular strategy, but it will come back to you in some other form. That energy will return back to the source. And this is why it's very important. You could have two salespeople, you know, with side by side offices doing the exact same strategies, but one does it just to do it. You know, I hope I get something. The other does it with a great attitude, knowing that this is just part of the process, but he's doing it from a service oriented attitude, or he or she, I should say. Um, so it's not, again, what it is that you're doing, it's the certain way that you're doing it. So we always want to be in that high vibration when we're doing anything. And again, when you're dealing with people, like we all, I'm sure, not only our clients, but when we're on calls with prospects, right? People come to us and they tell us what changes that they want to make in their life. And I would say just about every call, whether they become a client or not, they always leave feeling better. Sometimes they just want to talk. You know, sometimes they just want someone to hear with a caring ear, and they just want to be heard. But I do know, right? Because what we do it because it's authentic to us. It's really authentic to listen to what challenges people are having, and what it is that they really truly want. And the beauty of what we do is because we can actually show them the process, because the process is always the same process, right? And then that we believe in them, even though they don't believe in themselves just yet. So they borrow our belief, but it's what we're pouring into the prospect or the client or Joe Schmo hanging around on the street. It's what we're pouring into, and good will always return to its original source.
I really loved a couple points that you made there, Lou. And, you know, one of them was, it isn't about getting, right? It's about giving. And so I might give something to you or do something for you, but it's not about, okay, now I want something back from you. I may never get something back from you personally, but it's going to come back to me from another unexpected source at another unexpected day or time. And that's what it's all about. And also the very interesting thing in this lesson, Bob created this lesson based on Wallace Wattles' book, The Science of Getting Rich. And it's about doing things in a certain way, as Lou touched on, right? She didn't say those words, but it's about doing things in a certain way. And when you consistently leave people with the impression of increase, you just naturally attract more success. You naturally attract deeper relationships and a greater influence in your field. And the other thing that Lou said, and I could underscore, is, you help people, help them see possibilities that they hadn't considered before. So your belief in them, and Jamal said it as well, their belief in you, that it just makes them feel so much more inspired. It makes them feel good about themselves, but they're more likely to take some action step or step outside their comfort zone. So that's really, and you will get that back. You'll get that back, not from them, but you will. And it's not about getting, it's just about doing things in a certain way and going above and beyond. There's always a better way of doing something, right? Every morning you could wake up and think, today I'm going to do things even better, even if it's marginally, right? And just step by step do that.
Yeah, I love this. So here's a really good question. Since we're kind of talking about it. What is doing things in a certain way? What does that really mean? What is this certain way? I know what it is after, extensive, well, I have an idea of it. What does it mean to each of us here? What is doing things in a certain way?
Well, as I just mentioned, it's being in the spirit, being in the spirit of giving, being in the spirit of service, being in the service of helping someone else.
I believe in having love to what you do, independent of what it is, because then if you put love there and enthusiasm, then you can get more joy when you do things in that way, with gratitude, with enthusiasm, with love. If you have a job, you maybe don't like it, but what happens is that when you don't like it, so much energy goes to not being grateful for that, instead of using that energy to create something new. So it's more living life from that perspective. Sometimes it's very difficult to, because I normally have a distinction, or it's like, when you are in the forest, you see the trees in the level of your eyes, and you can see that. But when you go up, and from the perspective, from the if you are flying, you see the whole forest. But if you are in the forest, you see only some trees. And it's taking a higher perspective of things, and putting some love and enthusiasm, joy with what we do, and gratitude, of course. For me, it's that. Yeah.
Those are all great. I don't know how to add to that. But
That's why I went first, Paul.
to kind of encapsulate that and summarize that, it's truly about leaving everyone with the feeling that they have gained something of value from their interaction with you. Whether that's inspiration, or it could be knowledge, or confidence, or a sense of possibility. It's that attitude of growth, that there is abundance, and there's this expectancy of positivity, providing value, in every conversation, in every transaction. And as I said, I think this, I already said that, but helping others see possibilities that they hadn't considered before as well. And just always, whatever it is you do, whatever business you are in, to deliver more value. How do you do that? Maybe personalized insights. Maybe it's giving them additional resources or unexpected encouragement. But just really, and celebrating their wins, big and small, and reinforce progress by acknowledging even minor victories, and show them that they are moving forward. And you will draw, and people actually are drawn to you because you believe in them. And when they see that you really care about them, they're more inspired. They're more inspired to take action.
Yeah. That was great, Paul. That was great. Everybody, that was great. Yeah, that question was something that I was curious about for a long time. I kept hearing, do things in a certain way.
Yeah.
Just tell me what's the certain way so I can do it, right? But, Bob shares the certain way is by law. What law is that? Universal laws, right? We all shared, our versions or interpretations. We're all speaking universal laws. The law of cause and effect, the law of vibration, the law of attraction. The impression of increase it's interesting because it kind of connects a lot of the laws. The law of perpetual transmutation. There's a lot. I think there's like 7 main ones, but leaving everyone with the impression of increase connects to each one in a different way. So I was thinking, like, what is this certain way? Tell me, please. But it's good to get an understanding, because I know a lot of people were probably wondering what that is as well. And that's why we're here to kind of help you understand that. Also, like it doesn't matter where you are in your life. You could be, I remember I used to be a janitor, like way back, cleaning bathrooms and like utility places and construction sites and stuff like that. And it doesn't matter what level you're on, how much money you have, or what type of job you have, be the best version that you can be in that place. Because what that does, it's interesting because Bob said you'll outgrow it. The more energy the universe listens and watches all the time, it'll pull you out of that place and put you in an environment that you're growing into. So you being a higher version of yourself in that state, you're able to connect with these universal laws without even knowing it. And it's great to know what's happening and be aware of it now. But this is golden. And this is just a small part of understanding this. That's why I love doing these coaches corners, so people get a understanding of themselves and how they can impact everyone around them, your family, people at your work, your city, your concept of yourself is unlimited abundance, so yeah, that's doing things, and how you do everything, how you do something is how you do everything. So it's always with you. Like, how do you show up for yourself each day? Yeah. That's why you kind of have to self-reflect. What am I going to do today that's different? Like Paul was saying, I can do it better. There's always a better way. I can do, even if it's small, you're still progressively moving towards the worthy ideal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, Alicia. Go ahead.
Yeah. So no, I hear about being the best version of yourself is what I was talking before, that you need to, or not need, is the thing is working with you, because in order to be deleting other with incursion, the impressional increase, you need to work with you. So if you have if you don't feel good, then it's very difficult to be good to others, and also to know who you are. And here is, I have my prompts here. It's like, okay, so this is me, and it's difficult to be nice to a person if I don't know that this is my frame, how I see the world. And then it comes somebody else that have this frame, or maybe this frame, or maybe this frame. And if I don't know who I am, what is in my frame, then it's more difficult to accept other people's frame and to help them to leave them with impression and increase. For they say, yeah, but that person is so strange. Yeah, because that person have another frame of how they see the world. But if you know that, this is how I see the world, and that person have another frame of how they see the world, then I can be open to to be more curious about the other person's frame of work or see the world. So this is why you need to work with yourself and always working to get the best version of yourself when you communicate with others. And this is a job to do, but a very interesting job. But you need to be curious about yourself in order to do that.
Thank you, Donna, for your comment.
Yes, thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining and your comment.
Yeah,
And thank you, Alicia, as well. Yeah, I love the frames. I love it. It's very visual.
I love that Jamel brought up the question, what is a certain way? Doing things in a certain way. Like, what does that mean? Like Jamel said, like, tell me a certain way and I will do it. And so I was writing this note when I was checking over that lesson, and there's a line that says, the certain way is the best way. Well, what does that mean? The certain way is the best way. It means that regardless of how you've been doing things, right, there's always a better way. Mm-hmm. So we attain a certain level of success doing things, and we've always done things this way. We've always done things this way, and that's the way I'm comfortable doing them. So that's the way I'm going to continue doing them. But just bear in mind that when you wake up in the morning, think, hey, you know what? Like Jamel said, even if it's a little bit better, it's better, right? And accumulatively, if you always look at that way, that's the certain way. You're always looking for a better way. There's always a better way to communicate. There's always a better way to live. There's always a better way to provide service. There's always a better way that we can do things. And that's the certain way. Always looking for a better way.
I just want to comment on that. I tell my clients, don't assume that you are going to change everything all the time, because then you will stress. But focus on being 1% better than yesterday. 1% better than yesterday. Otherwise, you will like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting any results. But if you are just focusing on being 1% better than yesterday, then you are in a good way.
Yeah. I want to, Jamel, you reminded me of a couple of things. Bob used to always say, I think if I'm getting this correctly, if you don't do more than what you're being paid for, you'll never be paid more for what you're doing. So when you said, you mentioned in your earlier life, you being a janitor, I always thought, I remember thinking, because many times you'll hear people talking about their job or whatnot, and well, I'm not going to do more because I don't get paid for that, right? I don't get paid for that. And I always thought about, say, for an example, a janitor. who just came to work, had a great attitude, always smiling, and how you doing today? You look great, da 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 da, right? Now, that janitor may be getting paid X amount of dollars, but he just brings with him such a great attitude and he goes above and beyond his typical duties. He does it in a better way. That janitor will be pretty hard to replace,
Mhm.
right? Therefore, that janitor can really go somewhere else and be paid more
Yeah.
because he's showing more value, right? Than the other person who said, I don't get paid for that. I'm also thinking about, I think my husband just recently told me about, I want to say it was a football team, it could have been pro or college, where the coach came on an interview and he blamed the fans for the loss. And I said, well, that's pretty interesting. And it brings me back to one of the stories. I think it's in maybe Lead the Field about. Oh no, I think it's in Thomas Troward about being in the spirit of something. So think about a football game, right? And if you're going just as a spectator, perhaps you work for the media and you're just taking notes and whatnot, but then you have the fans, right? Those fans that it could be in Green Bay, right? And they've got no shirts on, they're painted, and they're like, rah, rah, rah. Their energy feeds the players.
Mhm.
The energy that the players feed off of that energy. Those fans are supporting, they are in the spirit of the game. Every move in there, all that energy is being transmuted into the players. If the whole stadium was just filled with spectators taking notes, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Right? So this is what it's like being in the spirit of something. You're coming with a great attitude. That attitude is infectious. That person that works and says, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. How's your day? You're looking great. Oh, people, I know when I'm around that, boy, I love that. And then I want to share that with someone else. I'm certainly not going to get that energy for somebody and then bite someone's head off, right? I'm going to pass on that energy. So it's really being in the spirit. And just like you guys, I used to think, what is that certain way? I thought it was a strategy, right? Thought it was some strategy we had to do. I didn't realize the strategy was my attitude. Like I never thought of that.
Yeah.
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 There's a good question that Catherine has just written into.
Yeah.
She,
Yeah. I was gonna. Yeah.
yeah. What's a piece of advice for trusting yourself more?
Yeah.
And hi, Catherine. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Catherine. I
Right?
can start.
Yes.
I believe that one of the best things to do to trust in yourself more is to do what you say you are going to do.
Mm.
So, for example, if you say, I'm going to do a workout, do that. Because when we don't keep our agreements with ourselves, our self-image will get a punch. Yeah. So that is one of the things that I believe that is of course is so many other things, but one of the best I tell my clients, if you put in your calendar that you are going to do a workout or you are going to drink water or you are going to go to a walk, do that. Don't say, oh, I am so tired now and that, because the stories that we tell us, sometimes they are so strong that they keep us pushing our agreements with ourselves. So, Catherine, your agreements with yourself are even more important to have agreements with other people. That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really good, Alicia. Having that agreement with yourself is so important, and wow, that's really powerful. And um, what I was going to add to that was, Bob, I'll never forget this when Bob said, "What is discipline? What's the definition of discipline?" And that is giving yourself a command and following it. So just as Alicia said, if you promise yourself that you're going to get up and go for a walk, or you're going to get up and and you're going to change your diet, you give yourself a command and follow it. And that's discipline. And it doesn't have to be big things all at once, because that can be overwhelming. But so celebrate your small wins, big and small, however, and just that will reinforce, your progress, and it'll reinforce with you that you are moving forward. So, but people need to have that discipline, and then celebrate all your wins, big and small. Don't overlook even those smallest wins.
Yeah, I love this question, Catherine. And, this is so important. It's Bob always said, you're one of the highest forms of creation, and it's an inside job. So you want to continuously celebrate yourself. Give yourself all the self-love and positive affirmations all day, every day, because you're amazing. And the odds of you being born is like, it's like over 1 billion to 1. There's only one you, and it happened. So that shows how special you are. And all of us, we're unique snowflakes. None are the same. We're all unique. Nobody can do something the way you do it. You have to be awaken yourself for your own greatness. And the more you know how powerful you are, you start to trust yourself even more, because I can do this thing. I am this thing. I become this thing. Mm-hmm. So being the action, like Alicia says, like Paul, like we all said here, right? The action is part of that understanding. You're interacting on the physical plane based on what's on the inside, but it always starts on the inside. You can force yourself to take action, but that's not inspired action. You're in disharmony when you do that. Mm-hmm. It's different going to the gym, like you're dreading it. I do not want to work out today, but you won't get the results that you want, and your spirit is not in it. It's different. I'm going to the gym because my old self in 2024 wouldn't have went. Right? So this is the new me, and I'm connecting with that version. I am that version. So I am going to do this. I am powerful. I am greatness. I am worthy. I am enough. I love myself. I have more than enough knowledge. Right? Whatever you have to tell yourself, you start empowering yourself, and the body just expresses what's on the inside. It's an expression. You notice we say funny things on here. Alicia with the props again. It's we smile naturally, right? Our smile naturally comes out because the body expresses what's on the inside. So work on the inside, and you'll start trusting yourself more as you make each day, right? Each day with progress of that action. You remember, every day, time is our most valuable asset. So take each day. Each day is a building block, a brick of your kingdom, of your life. Days turn to weeks, weeks turn to months, months turn to years. So what are you doing each day? So as you're building each day and taking the action you told yourself you're going to do, you start trusting yourself more. And that could be affirmation. I trust myself. I trust in my abilities. I trust I'm going to do even better today. So these are just a few things that come to mind to help you. And that is such a powerful question. Mm-hmm. Thank you for asking and being open to that. Putting your question.
We have one more question from Donna. I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to answer that Catherine's question. So Catherine, this is why we're here. When you understand who you are, why you do the things that you do, why why you do the things that you, or don't do the things that you know you could be doing, you have a much better understanding of yourself. You start to cut slack for yourself. You start to question your beliefs. So your question, how do I, what was the, can you bring it up,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jamel?
Let me find
How
it here.
do I believe in, trust
Trusting
in
yourself.
myself? What piece of advice for trusting yourself more? So the question is, I would ask is, why don't you trust yourself? Why don't you trust yourself? And it could be, I'm just speculating because I was in that place at one time. I didn't trust myself because the times I did try to do something and I thought I failed, or someone laughed at me, or someone told me I couldn't do it, they thought I was crazy. This all builds self doubt. It builds self-doubt. And then I don't think, just like when a baby starts to, go on its own and it's taking risk, and the parents are, oh, don't, oh, be careful, oh, don't touch that, oh, watch out. The baby starts to develop self-doubt in itself. So learning how this magnificent, and I do say magnificent, machine works, you start to understand just how incredible and powerful you are. But if you don't understand it, you're probably operating on old beliefs, limiting beliefs, self doubt, right? Lack of confidence. So when you start to understand yourself more and understand that everything you've done in life was just an experiment, that's all it is. But we beat ourselves up. Oh, I made so many mistakes. No, they're not mistakes. You just tried something and you got a result. So to try to start trusting yourself, believe that you are the highest form of creation. You are having this human experience because everything's an experiment. This is your personal journey for you to experience. And during your personal journey, you're going to have good times, not so good times. You're going to have ups, you may have some downs, but that's your personal journey. It doesn't matter about anyone else. You're going to fall down and you have to learn how to get back up. But this is all part of your growth. So when you start to fully understand that and become authentic to yourself, you will start trusting yourself because you will understand this is all part of the human experience.
Very well shared there, Lou. I
Yeah.
love that. That really quickly, that reminds me of a video that Bob has that hit the core. He says the past is the past. Let it go if it's not serving you. A lot of us want to pull all the negatives into the present. And when you do that, your future, you're getting a repetition of what you don't want. So let go of the past. That's over. You can't change that, right? Let's not dwell on any negativities of the past. It's what you do in the present. And that's the most beautiful moment because it shapes your future. So as you're doing the action you told yourself you're going to do, you start feeling good about yourself. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. And if there's something challenging for you to do outside your comfort zone, do it. I like to do it early in the day or just get it done. That way I don't even have time to think about it. Right. I'm shedding my old self by taking that action, and I'm gaining more trust in myself and my abilities. So yeah, that's a great question. And we can talk forever about that.
Yeah,
Donna, you have a
thank you.
good question as well. Here we go. Paul, you want to tackle that one?
Oh, sure. That's a really good question, Donna. So if your action, sort of doesn't excite you, then try to attach that action to your meaningful goal. So like, have you set a real meaningful goal that you really get excited about? And then, ask yourself, is the action I'm taking, is it in alignment with my goal? Does this help me move towards my goal? And if you're, maybe make a little rule for yourself, say, okay, for 5 minutes every day, I'm going to take this action, because maybe that action appears to be dull or doesn't excite you. But if the action, if you can attach it to that meaningful goal that you've created, I know you've created one, then the action is a little bit more inspired. You want to take inspired action. So it's difficult if that action doesn't inspire you. And maybe the other thing you can do is also, get an accountability partner, and, you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and be accountable. That really helps as well. So, but I think really most importantly, my belief is that, you have to attach that action to the meaningful goal, because that meaningful goal should be inspiring, should be exciting you. Like Bob says, if it doesn't excite you and scare you at the same time, it's not a big enough goal. So if you have a goal that's really inspiring you, then, you attach some of those things. Like, again, in this lesson, what is it? Successful people do what failures don't want to do, right? So there's always things that we don't really want to do, but if you attach it to that goal that's you're really driven to achieve, it becomes a little bit more manageable for you.
Alicia, did you, or Ruth?
Yeah, what I would like to ask Donna, if her goals are in alignment with their values, because sometimes we set goals, and we set goals that we think that are the goals that we want, and when we need to take action, then we don't want to do that. It was for me, the case for me, when I set a goal and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I was like looking for other people what we're doing. And I was like, I should do that. But the problem that I was not taking the action, because the goal that I set was not aligning with what I value. So this is one, because when your goals are aligned with your values, with deepest values, your core values, you don't need to do, you will not like, oh, I should do this, or I must do this. You say, oh, I want to do this because it's how I will achieve my goals. And the other thing that I will ask you is to think that if you need to do something. I can take my example, that I know that in order to get some clients, I need to contact people. But sometimes my fear, my need to be safe from getting a no, keep me procrastinating. So there is a need behind the behavior. So I procrastinate. The need of the behavior behind is that I want to be safe, not to get a no, not to be rejected. But because I know that my goal is so big and is alignment with my values, then I take the action anyway. And as Jamel said before, that, you do that activity the first you do before the beliefs starting to, yeah, no, you get the no soon, and then you will be sad, so you take action before your beliefs starting to talk. So watch which needs are there that make you not take actions. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would say you really have to have a reason why you want to do whatever it is that you want to do or not. What is your reason? What is your what? What is your why? Is it strong enough? Without a really good reason, without that emotional, the emotion behind your what and your why, it's very challenging because the subconscious mind, your program mind, you're entering into doing something you haven't done before. So that program mind, your habit mind is going to fight the new idea. So this is where your power comes in because your conscious thinking mind is your creative mind. You have to build that up, build that up. This is what I wanted. This is what I can see me living like this. This is what I want to do. But this is why that constant space repetition is so important because when you don't always have that on top of your mind, this is at the steering wheel, the subconscious mind. So you really want to connect with the reason. What is the action that you are avoiding? Why are you avoiding? What is it if you do it? What will you gain? What are you looking to gain? So I would say, question your reason. Do you really, really want what you say that you want? And then just do it. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, just do it. Face the fear, and then fear is no more. We all go through it. This is what growth is about. This is what it's all about. If there was no fear there, then we're not growing. So appreciate that there's something holding you back, and you're going to say, well, I'm bigger than you, and move forward.
That's so good, Lou. That's so good. Everybody, I love it. Yeah, this has been a great call.
I just want to comment something so Catherine Johnson say. I feel like the goals I set so high and even thinking about getting there overwhelm me. So I just retreat back. And I will say, Catherine, like you can do the reverse engineering. Like you have your big goal, the star you are shooting, but go back and say if you have this goal for 1 year, then you say, okay, which goal should I reach the quarter 4 or the quarter 3, and then in 6 months. So you do you shorter you do other goals, the milestone to get there, and also ask yourself, because if you say that you were overwhelmed, who do you need to be in order to reach that goal? Who is Catherine when she get there? And start affirming that all the time.
Yeah, that's really good, Alicia. Yeah, both questions are related, because you have to fall in love with the goal.
Mm.
The body naturally, remember, the body is an instrument of the mind. So once you get that vision, that feeling is the secret. You have to write down every day in the present tense of you having achieved that goal. Right. And really, and even visualize it. If you meditate, I like to meditate first to kind of level my frequency, and then I can visualize and go there in your mind, walk through it, feel the air, right? Notice the people around you or the people congratulating you. Get very detailed of where you are and the space, and you can visualize visioneering. Sandy talked a lot about visioneering. You want to have a clear picture of that goal achieved, and then you do it every day. Mindy, he said he did it 4 times a day. He would go back to his goal despite whatever's happening on the outside world. So you have to really water that plant. And the more you do it, you're connecting with spirit and using your imagination, and that muscle develops. Your imagination becomes stronger. The more you use it, the body will just naturally take the action. You wouldn't even think about it because you're so involved and so in love with where you want to go and what you're creating the body has nothing but to do to respond, and the more you respond to that, the weaker the old conditioning becomes, and you say, I feel like the goals I set are so high. High is perception. And like what Alicia was saying, basically you want to break down that goal to the smaller parts, right? To the smallest part. Maybe it's a year-end goal. You want to break down, what does it look like every month or every quarter or down to every week or down to every day. Some people do it every hour, right? So, and remember, it's about, and there's nothing to get to, and there's not getting there, right? You become now. It's always in the present. So you're bringing the future self to the present moment. That's why you want to write down in the present tense. So you're bringing your future into the present. What does Neville Goddard says? The wish fulfilled. Having the feeling of the wish fulfilled in the present moment. So it's coming to you as you're moving to it, the creative process, right? So it's such a beautiful question. I'm so glad, both of you are here to watch that. And hopefully, she says it's very helpful. So this is awesome.
Can I just add one more thing?
Look at us. We want to serve.
Write your goal down. Write your goal down. I am so happy and grateful that blah, blah, blah in the present tense. Carry this with you all the time. Every time you need to make a decision or take action, look at your goal card. Who do I have to be? Who is this person that has achieved this goal? What kind of decisions does she make? What kind of actions does she make? This goal card will be a reminder, because you are really reprogramming or bringing out another version of you that hasn't come up yet, right? You're trying to reach your goal from your old thinking, your older version of you. So this is why the panel was saying, we're all saying, it's being the person with the goal achieved. That person thinks and behaves differently. So keep your goal card with you at all times. And every time you have to make a decision or take some action, look at that goal card and say, what would she do? What would she do? And then act from there.
Awesome. Look at all the love and value we've given on this call. This is great.
Time.
So awesome.
Living with impression of increase.
Yeah.
You got that right. We definitely did today. I think so. Yeah. Catherine. Yeah, we've met before, so I'll reach out to you and see how I can help you further. But speaking of helping, that's what this call is all about. All of us obviously want to leave you with the impression of increase. Make sure, you reach out to any of us, whoever you resonated with, so we can help you with this amazing material that's impacted our lives, And if you haven't, we have an exercise as well. We'll post that in the comments or, in the description, so you can apply this knowledge, because, action, we talked a lot about action today. If you don't take the action, what result you think you're going to get? You don't want to get the same results, right? Anything else? Anybody else want to share here before we?
That was a great call.
Great call, some of us.
All right. Awesome call. We'll see you next Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. How can I give you a hint of what the topic is? It's essentially what we're doing right now. They know what I'm talking about. All right, everybody. Blessings.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
See you next week. Thank you.